This week I'm going to talk about doing the Kitchener stitch because I have some students who are doing the finishing course and are having some difficulty with it. Now the first thing to remember is that the Kitchener stitch is not knitting. It is seaming. I have, to show you, I've cut the yarn tails on here. It doesn't matter which side my yarn is at. On this side it's finished on the knit side as if to purl. On this side it's also finished on the knit side as if to purl, but doesn't matter one tiny bit. And these examples, notice that there are short rows here. These are actually from a class I teach in short rows and shoulders and stuff. So I just dug these up rather than knit new swatches. Does not matter. The point being, where the working yarn is coming from. Whether there's the same number of rows, does not matter. What I'm doing is I am joining these two. Now, to make it a little easier, I've put them on DPNs, and that way I could seam them starting from this direction, I could seam them starting from this direction. Doesn't matter one bit. Now the instructions that I use are the ones from Vogue. I find them the easiest, and you get into a rhythm, and it makes sense to me. I don't like the ones where you're taking the stitches off the needles, because that kind of scares me to death. Now in the method I use, you have a front needle and you have a back needle. And when you are seaming, you are going to be seaming purl-wise, where I'm inserting the tapestry needle as if I'm going to purl, or knit-wise, from the top to the bottom or from the bottom to the top, basically. Now the first step in Kitchener is getting it started, and it's not a full stitch, so I'm going to be using half of the steps that we'll be using later. And on my front needle, I go in as if to purl. Okay, and on the back needle I go in as if to knit. There we go. Preliminary steps done. Now from this point on, it is exactly the same thing. In the front needle, when my yarn is in the back, okay, I'm going to go in as if to knit on the first stitch, and I'm going to drop that stitch. I'm going to go into the next stitch as if to purl and keep it on the needle. Now basically you drop a stitch when it's got two of the seaming threads going in and out. Okay, that's basically the step. And I'm not going to worry too much about whether this looks good at this point. On the back needle, I go in as if to purl. I come out as if to knit. Front needle, as if to knit, drop, purl. Purl, drop, knit. And you just do that over and over again. Knit, off, purl on the front needle, purl, drop, knit on the back needle. And you just keep doing that until you're done. Now obviously, you know, you've got live stitches, you've got DPNs, you've got working yarn, you've got all this stuff going on here. So it can be a little knitsy, as I like to call it. But if you keep your head and you try and do it all in one sitting, it's not too bad. Whoops, sorry about that. Now, this is what it looks like when it's done. That's not very attractive. So periodically as I go through, I will tighten up the seaming thread and pull it from one side to the selvage. Oops, where's that coming? There we go. Okay. And this side out to my working yarn to neaten it up. And also I want to check and make sure that I've got this right, because if I mess up and I go, say, knit and drop on the back needle, I'm going to get some purl bumps here. And when you're done with this, it should look just like a row of knitting.